Y'all back. All right, Dave. We on here, baby. What's up with you, Dave?
All right. Welcome to the TD Report. I'm your host, David Combs, here with Jody Coleman in the Midwest. How you doing, Jody?
Hey, I'm doing excellent. Excellent.
Excellent. Got Big Tony here. Uh, all the way. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can get it to do it. I'm always trying to get it to work right. I can't always get my point right. Tony's over here to my left. Tony Kennedy, brain trust of
Uh,
the show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Big week. Okay. Tony, TK, where do you want to
yes,
go
sir.
first? Where do we want to go first today? You want to talk about Jalen Hurts?
We can talk about Hurts because it's scrolling across the bottom.
Okay. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts having an MVP season so far. Eagles are sitting atop the NFC at 13-1. Look, just cruising right along. In the third quarter, yesterday's game, he took a hit, was driven down to the turf against the Chicago Bears, has a sprained shoulder. It's not thought to be a long-term injury, but there's a possibility he could miss the Dallas game coming up. Dallas fell on their face a little bit, took a loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars in overtime. They scored a lot of points, Tony, but they gave up a lot of points. But this is going to be a big NFC clash. Dallas traveling up, Dallas having Philly come down to them. What do you think about Jalen Hurts' possible availability for this? Because
But,
think
go
about
ahead.
it. Think about it before we get in. Think about it. Do the Eagles really have to play him? Do you risk dinging up that shoulder against a very good pass rush in Dallas?
All right, so let me tell you something. You up three with three to go. Okay. So just when you start thinking you cruising, that's when the wheels start falling off. And what I am telling you right now, had it been Jalen Hurts' left shoulder, I'd be like, it doesn't mean anything. That right shoulder, folks, so that we understand each other. That right shoulder in football to a quarterback is to me like the right elbow to a pitcher in baseball. It is everything.
Mhm.
It is all that. If y'all think that Philly is already in Arizona, y'all got another thing coming to you. Because I called here on the TD report a month and a half ago. I said all four NFC East teams are going to get there. All three of them going to win the playoffs, and it's going to be a round robin to see who gets to the Super Bowl. Y'all called me crazy. I'm this close to it. The Washington football team went out. Giants went out. Here's the matchups. Giants will be probably at San Francisco.
Yep.
Skins will be at Minnesota. Dallas will be at Tampa. Two of those three games, you can see them winning. The hardest game is going to be the Giants and San Francisco. What happens if all three of them win? Now it's a round robin. Philly's ass ain't going to the Super Bowl. It's going to be either the Giants, the Cowboys, or Washington football team. Now, y'all think with this little injury, and I'm praying for Jimmy, because see, I don't want to play him hurt, because I don't want to hear the excuses like we had when they beat us. We gave you a lot of excuses. I don't want no excuses. I want the dog, and I want prayers to that guy. I'm not in here praying for the MVP to be hurt, but you got to see us. You got to come to Dallas and see this right here. I'm done.
Jody, what do you think? That was a lot from
Personally,
Tony. That was a lot from Tony right there. Hey, Devin, we'll get
what's
you on
up?
in a second. We're talking about Jalen Hurts and the Cowboy game coming up next week. Go ahead, Jody.
Well, basically, I wouldn't play Jalen Hurts. I would. I mean, there's no need. They got a. They got a 2 or 3 game lead in that division. They already beat the Cowboys once. I wouldn't necessarily play him. I don't think it's a need. I think that they can maybe hide some packages that they would have for Jalen Hurts. They ain't no use of bringing it out because they may have to face him when all the trips are going to be down. Now, what I now Tony did say that all 4 teams could make the playoffs off the NFC East, and he could be right. But this is the thing: we are disrespecting the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, I know they're the number 1 team in wins with 1 score games. So we need to put a little bit of respect on the Minnesota Vikings. We keep disregarding the Minnesota Vikings like they still ain't 11-3. We got to stop disrespecting the Minnesota Vikings like that. You know, they got Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins. I know a lot of people in Washington ain't really high on Kirk Cousins, but he's winning games and he's winning close games, and that's what I'd rather see. And if I'm Dallas, I still wouldn't doubt Tampa Bay if they got to play Tampa Bay in Tampa. because that guy Tom Brady, he's a different animal. I know he looks pretty much dead, but we done seen him look like that many a times and come back and do some miraculous things. So Dallas don't have their ticket punched to the second round either, just because they think they're going against Tampa. So, but going back to Jalen Hurts, I wouldn't play him. I don't see the significance of playing him probably for the rest of the season. I'll keep him tuned up when he is healthy enough, maybe the last game of the season, because he's going to have a few weeks off anyway because they're going to have the bye.
Hey, Jody, doesn't and that's great stuff there, but doesn't the Jekyll and Hyde nature of kind of how Minnesota plays, doesn't that kind of worry you a little bit? Just this weekend against the Indianapolis Colts, they went down 33 points at the half, okay? For a good team or a great team, going down 33 points is not how you're playing football. Yes, they came back in the second half, pushed it to overtime, ended up winning the game, 39-36. The Indianapolis Colts just laid an egg, but a good team doesn't go down 33 points.
Well, you know what, Dave? What I like about what they're doing is now they have a confidence that it's nothing that they can't come back from. When you win games like that, you feel like you can win any game, no matter what the score, no matter what the quarter. Being down 33 points at the half, the biggest NFL comeback in history. Now you have a sense of like nobody can stop you at this point. So I think it's a good thing for the Minnesota Vikings. I'd rather my quarterbacks win close games than blowouts because we know what they made of and we know what they up against. If you blowing everybody out, then you get in a game like that. That's when you're scared. So I think that's okay. A good thing for Minnesota.
Hey, let's go over to our other host of the show, Devin Mason. Good to have you on, buddy. How you feeling?
How y'all doing, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's happening?
Let's talk first about the Jalen Hurts situation. You're a quarterback guru. Would you play him in a late regular season game? It looks like a grade 1 type of sprain. This is not going to keep him out long, if it does keep him out at all. But is it worth the risk?
No, it's not, because Philly beat Minnesota, and they have a 3-game lead on Dallas and Minnesota with 3 to play. They're not going to lose 3 games in a row, so they're going to get home field. He probably shouldn't play the rest of the year because you're going to get 4 weeks of him to completely heal if you sit him now, because you get a week off for the first round. So I would maybe, like Jody said, run him out there the last game of the season, try to get him some reps if he didn't play the next 2, because they're the Giants. What is it? The Eagles are playing the Cowboys, and then who they play next? I forgot who was after that. I don't know who they play in between the
Saints and Giants.
Okay.
Yeah, they have the Saints and Giants. Yeah, to close.
I wouldn't play him against the Cowboys or the Saints. Those pass rushers are pretty ferocious with Cam Jordan, Parsons, Lawrence, Davenport. Them guys are, and those are 2 games that are going to be played on turf too, which is different. When he, with a shoulder sprain hitting the turf, that's totally different than a sprain hitting the grass at Lincoln Financial. Totally different surface of hitting your shoulder as a quarterback. So for me, no, I would probably lean on the side of caution. He's 13-1. He's not going to win the MVP if he don't play these next 2, but that's not important. The bigger goal is Super Bowl. The MVP is going to go to the Mr. Ketchup on everything in Kansas City, because he's going to play every game, because they're trying to catch the Bills. And then you still got the Bengals, who are the kryptonite for Buffalo and maybe Kansas City because of that Joe Cool at quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing about that whole AFC. But if I'm the Eagles, with caution, because he's too vital. We can't go where we want to go without Jalen. So we have to have him fully healthy, because it does not work. The offense doesn't work without Jalen. It just doesn't.
Okay. Now, the nature of how Philadelphia plays, he's primarily a running quarterback first. He's looking to throw the ball, but they do use him in their running game quite extensively. He leads the league, or is very close to it, with Lamar Jackson injured, and even, somebody like a Justin Fields, who does take a lot of quarterback hits. Jalen Hurts takes a lot of quarterback hits over the course of a season. Okay, it's the luck of the draw. Eventually, someone's going to hit you to the point, ding you up a little bit, which we saw last week. So the nature of how Jalen Hurts plays is also going to dictate kind of how you handle him going forward.
Yeah,
but they got a very serviceable backup in Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew can do it. He can play, but you lose the run threat, the RPO threat, which is a huge part of the Eagles' offense. That's where they beat you at. They don't beat you with Hurts just stepping back and throwing. He made a throw yesterday to A.J. Brown from the pocket that was gorgeous from the pocket, but that is still a work in progress. They beat you with his ability to get on the edge, his ability to zone read you with Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and all these other backs, and then they run Quez Watkins on the Jets and all that. And you have to watch all that. Then you got Goddard running out in routes, and then you got Devontae Smith on crossers. It's tough to stop because of his legs and his ability to. He ran that. He ran the RPO at Alabama. Lincoln. No one gives Lane Kiffin the credit for creating the RPO offense for him at Alabama, which is what he's best at. So then you get a Sirianni who says, you know what? They say you can't do this, but you can do this. And we're going to build our scheme around what you do. And then while you're doing what you do best, we're going to get the passing game down. We're going to go get a real number one. I like Devontae. He's a 2. I love Devontae. He's a 2 at this level. You go get a number 1 in AJ. Now, Devontae is one of the top, maybe could be the top number 2 receiver in the league if you don't, him and Jalen Waddle right now. When you look at what they can do with that second corner weekly, ain't many guys that can cover them at the number 2 spot. Just can't, because you got a dog at 1 in Tyreek Hill and you got a dog in AJ Brown. That makes it tough. So when you look at the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is the key. They're not going to shut people down defensively. They're not going to completely just shut you out on that side of the ball, so they have to score points. They're not a shutdown defense. They're a good defense. Good in the secondary, okay in the front, okay at linebacker. Their strength is secondary. They rush the passer. So without Jalen Hurts, that's going to limit the amount of points they score. And I don't know if they could beat some of the teams without him scoring. They won't be able to shut people's offenses down. The Bears moved the ball pretty well on them yesterday. The Bears just had a lot of stupid things that happened,
Justin Fields, and let's talk about this just real quick, because I know Tony wants to get in here on Justin Fields. And this is Tony's point. Did the San Francisco 49ers give the league a break by not drafting Justin Fields in the right spot for where he is playing as a rookie?
Yes. Thank you, Jesus. They were doing – see, here's what we need to start. What we're going to do on the TD report is we're going to help change the narrative about having to be in the pocket. Lamar Jackson has gotten hurt twice, 3 times. Every time he's gotten hurt, he's been in the pocket. We need to get away from this narrative that they push and that you got to be in the pocket and you got to look like this and you got to look like that. No, you need to do what it takes, what your talent is, to win. Quarterbacks ain't going to play 15 years no more. They may have to play 10 years. And within those 10 years, how much winning are you going to get done? This is incredible. It was incredibly racist when they started this crap. That's the reason why now they can't do nothing but bow down. Because you look at the quarterbacks around the league. Look who's coming into the league. Now you have to change that narrative. We need to get away from that crap. That's why Brady is struggling. And that's why your boy Skip was over there ready to go crazy, ready to call him almost the N-word last week on the show. It's over. That time is over. You done held them quarterbacks back too long. Now the league, look at it. Jalen Hurts, 4 years ago, they said he couldn't pass the ball. Right now, he may be the leading candidate for MVP in the toughest league in the world. That shows you that this crap is over. I don't want to hear about them no more. I don't want to hear about Matt Ryan. I don't want to hear about Tom Brady and these crews. They are done. If you cannot move, you cannot play quarterback in this new NFL. That is a fact. And these offensive coordinators that's trying to look all pretty, like that fool in Dallas, y'all are done. You better get some season on your stuff. You better get your season on your stuff, from your food to who you date to however you're going to do. You need some seasoning on your stuff. Because if you keep it plain Jane, you're going to get ran over. And that's from here. I'm going to tell all these people that. Stop with that plain Jane crap. Dallas is losing games because they're trying to make Kellen Moore to make Dak look good. Do what you did to get you there. The Skins are losing games because they're not running the guy from Alabama. They're not running Gibson. Folks, do what you do and stop trying to win your way. Win the way that you guys and your coaches have prepared the team. It's crazy.
Now, hey, Jody, we can talk about the type of second half of the season that Justin Fields is having. He went over 1,000 yards rushing, and they still have 3 games to play. That's pretty incredible for 1,000 yards rushing for a quarterback. And by the way, this is supposed to be a league where you're not supposed to be running the football like that. This is
Right.
supposed to be a passing league. Okay, Justin Fields doesn't have an an AJ Brown. He doesn't have a Devontae. This is not what he's got at the wide receiver core. But if you can give him competent weapons, I think he's got the arm, and I do think he's got the ability to make these throws. What do you think about the evolution of that quarterback spot?
Well, I always was high on Justin Fields because he went to the Ohio State. So, I was a big fan of him. But real quick before I get in that, y'all said that the 49ers should have drafted him. The Jets should have drafted him. Look what they got in exchange. Look at what the Jets got in exchange. They got a kid that can't play football. And the whole time when that draft process was coming out, and I know Dev remembers this, it was Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. Then all of a sudden, this kid from BYU comes in, has a decent season against subpar talent. All of a sudden, he comes in, he's the number 2 pick, and he was solidified by McShay. I like McShay, but you got that wrong. And Justin Fields is showing you how wrong that he is. So getting into what you said about Justin Fields, this kid is the future. He's the future of this NFL. I never thought I would see a running quarterback like Lamar Jackson. And here comes Justin Fields, who may be a little bit more polished of a runner because Lamar Jackson, he's a shifty runner, but Justin Fields looks like he's taking more to the house from farther distance. And what I don't like about that is Chicago has one of the lowest payrolls in the NFL. They didn't put absolutely no weapons around him whatsoever, whether it's offensive line.
None.
They do got some solid running backs in Montgomery and the kid from Virginia Tech. What's the kid? Herbert. They got Herbert. So they got some solidified weapons in the backfield. But it looked like to me that they were setting Justin Fields up so he could fail because that coaching staff was not the staff that drafted Justin Fields. So it just, and I'm not going to say that. I don't know. I'm just speaking from my perspective, but it looked like they were setting this kid up so they can be like, oh, we gave him a chance and he couldn't be successful. But guess what? He pulled out that cape and he's carrying the Chicago Bears. And now Chicago Bears fans actually have hope at the quarterback position, something they have probably never had in franchise history. Now he makes it exciting to come to games. They only got 3 wins, but guess what? They got a lot of money to spend and a lot of draft picks, and they put some right pieces around Justin Fields. Give him that A.J. Brown that they gave Jalen Hurts, and you might see a different look at the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields.
Hey, Devin, the opportunity for them to potentially spend, they've got, I think they're $100 million under the cap when the league year ends, assuming they do nothing at this point.
No, it's actually 112 now because they traded Roquan Smith.
Oh, okay. And they brought in, they have Chase Claypool, right?
Yeah. Claypool.
So he's either going to be a number 2 guy or a number 1 guy, depending if they want to layer over the top, and they're evaluating. Maybe we haven't given the Chicago front office enough credit. They've put themselves in a good cap situation. So Devin, you've got $112 million. What are you going to go purchase if you are the Chicago Bears in a division that's starting to look like there's a potential that they could move themselves from the bottom to the top in short order?
You could see them and the Lions take the first 2 slots soon. Minnesota's going to have a step back soon because they don't have a lot of money. And you're going to see the 2 teams that know one. Green Bay's going to fall back when Aaron Rodgers goes. They're going to fall back. They're falling back already. You're going to see the Bears and the Lions come back to the top of that division probably real soon because they have the pieces and the way they've built their teams. But to jump on what y'all was saying about did they not put pieces around him, don't forget Ryan Poles. I wrote a piece on him and the guy in Minnesota. Ryan Poles was in the Chiefs' war room for 7 years, 9 years, whatever. He saw how they went about business every day and how they built a team for Patrick Mahomes. You got to give him time. He knows what it takes now. He's looking, going, I'm going to move Roquan. I'm not giving him $20 million. I can't afford to pay him that. We got to build around his quarterback. I can't give you 20. I'm going to get – if you look at the guys that took Roquan Smith's place, that guy had 15 tackles yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nobody even heard of him before. I have, but most people probably haven't. He had 15 tackles. I like you, Roquan. But we had to pay Eddie Jackson on the back end to cover that, to be the deep safety. We got to move you. We traded Robert Quinn. We got to move him. This is all a plan to get line help, to go get some receivers, to go get another tight end because better believe Eberflus is going to go 2 tight ends with Justin Fields at quarterback. That's coming. They got to get another guy that they can trust outside of Cole Kmet. They have everything in place. And Ryan Poles can always pick up the phone and call Andy Reid and all them guys back in Kansas City and ask them what the hell they did if he don't understand. And I'm telling you, the Bears are scary. They have a quarterback and they have a guy that knows how to put a team together. You cannot sit in the Chiefs war room for 9-10 years and not know what the hell you're doing when you get your chance. You just can't. You saw how they did it. They did it the right way.
Yeah, and it looks like the Chiefs are stocked, and they've been able to plug in pieces and take a piece out.
Yeah.
People thought, and you talked about this, you wrote a column on it. People thought, oh wow, no Tyreek Hill. That's going to be no, it ain't.
No.
Can I tag on to that?
Jump in.
What you seeing right now? This is the NFL has hit a grand slam. We are a week away from Christmas, and we only have a couple of teams who are eliminated. Everyone is right here. With 3 games to go, there's about 100 different matchups that could be for this playoff. Okay? This is what the NFL wanted. The teams are scary. We're talking about the Lions and the Bears. We're not talking about the Packers and the Vikings. Think about this. We're talking about the Jaguars and the Jets. Just think about it.
Oh, now, can I piggyback real quick? I wanted to say I saw Mel Kiper on Ken Allen before the draft in 2021 when Fields and all them were coming out. Lawrence, I saw him at the Ken Allen. Tony, Dave and Tony know Ken Allen. He lives 5 minutes from there. Him, Brian Billets. Ron Wolf lives over there. All them ex-NFL guys live in the Annapolis, Ken Island area when they retire. A lot of them live. So I see him in there, and I asked him. I happened to be near him in the store, and I said, "Hey, Mel, what do you think of?"
Can't hear you.
He said,
"We lost you there for a second."
What did you say? What did you ask him?
I asked him, what did he think of this quarterback crop that was with Lawrence and Fields and all them guys? And he said to me, he said to me, Lawrence is by far and away the best. He's a can't-miss product. But if you're going to go second, it has to be Justin Fields just on raw potential because the skill set is too good for him not to be good. He said, I wouldn't touch Zach Wilson unless I had to later in the round. He said if I was going to touch a guy that I could plug in right now, it's Mac Jones, who was the guy that everybody was saying, can't play at this level. Yes, he can. He can play at this level. He's solid. And the Jets should have taken him, and the Jets and the Niners should have took Field and Mac Jones. They should have left Lance and Wilson alone. They should have left them alone. They were too much of a project to take a risk on when you have teams that are trying to come up and think they can come up quick. You get what I'm saying? Too much of a risk. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about something that just popped into my head. Philadelphia right now has Jalen Hurts, MVP candidate. He's still on a rookie deal, okay? So they're getting a lot of bang for their buck out of this guy. They do hold a top 5 pick in this upcoming draft. Would they take a quarterback for him?
No. Hell no.
Now
use him as trade bait.
Listen, I said this and I'm gonna say it again. The way that they disrespect the African American quarterbacks is ridiculous. Because Jalen Hurts in 3rd year, right?
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts in his 3rd year. Why are they not?
Should have made the playoffs 3 times. He should have made the playoffs 3 times.
What'd you say? Why they what?
I believe that they should already be signing him. They did that with Josh Allen. Josh Allen signed in his 3rd year. So my thing is, do they really believe that Jalen Hurts is the guy? Because when you got a quarterback, you got to lock him in. You got to lock him in early so you can get more pieces around him. Because you let him go to that 4th year because he don't have a 5th-year option because he was a 2nd-round pick. So he needs to be signed by next year because he only had 4-year contract.
He will be.
If you don't sign him by next year, his stock is going to go up. So why is nobody negotiating his contract right now? The same way with Justin Fields, he's about to go into his 3rd year. Why are we not talking about these guys signing these deals? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like all these other quarterbacks, they go when you know that quarterback's the guy. They knew Josh Allen was the guy, and they made sure they locked him down and locked him down for a cheaper price than if they would have let him get to this year, because this would have been his 5th year. If they would have let him get to his 5th year, Josh Allen's numbers would have been off the charts. So why don't you do that with Jalen Hurts?
Hey,
You didn't hear what y'all didn't hear what Jalen Hurts said in August?
What you say?
He said he wasn't entertaining no contract talk during the season. He wanted to focus
Right.
on football only. So that's why
Yeah.
the Eagles haven't bought it.
so
up
they've got to do it. They're going to have to do it over the summer.
I
Like
bet
that's-
you if they would have said
last
$400 million, he would have changed his.
Yeah,
damn
but I
team.
mean, at that time, he was still proving himself. We
He
didn't know
was.
gonna
He
play
was.
this well.
Yeah.
He was okay last year. He wasn't this good last year. He was just okay.
But
Look,
then
So he was like, let me bet on myself another year and see what happens. Now he can go in there and say, hey, boom, boom. If he get their MVP, then you really can't say nothing but paying him what he was saying what he worth.
Well, the MVP don't mean anything because Lamar Jackson got one, and they ain't giving him nothing.
Well, that's the Ravens. I don't know. The
Baltimore.
Eagles are gonna pay that guy. They're gonna pay
And listen, guys, we all know this. Baltimore, like a Pittsburgh, they don't do business that way. That's just how. This is how they do business.
But hold on, but Dave, that's I'm gonna have to go against you on that, because they made sure they locked in Big Ben. They made sure that man got his contract. They didn't worry about if he got his money or not. So it can't be good for some people and can't be good for others. And
They made sure Flacco
Good
got his
point.
money.
Flacco got
Facts.
his
The
money.
whole team.
No, I sustain that. I got you, Jody. But I'm just telling you. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you this is how they're going to do business with him.
I
You
know
see what I'm saying?
You have
This
to
is
use
how
the
they-
word. I can use the word that rhymes with right is white. So don't hit me with that crap. That's what it is. They
But
ain't
Tony-
giving the brothers no.
Tony,
I don't think
Guys.
that's true either, Tony, though, because you
I
got
don't
guys
like
like
it.
Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray got his contract.
Kyler
Well,
Murray had to
Kyler-
hold a gun in their hand.
Kyler Murray
It worked.
literally held. Not only did Kyler Murray hold the gun to their head, I think that the Arizona Cardinals blinked. My opinion. I think they blinked. You see what I'm
I'ma tell
saying?
you what
I'm
Dak
saying is
Prescott wouldn't have got paid if he didn't get hurt. Dak
Jerry
Prescott wouldn't
blinked.
have got paid either.
Exactly. Jerry blinked. Because also, don't forget, Jerry also wants to give that money. You know, Jerry spends money like a drunk sailor on shore leave. You and I both know that. And to buy a big ticket item, that's what Jerry does.
Hey, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but the only reason Deshaun Watson got paid is because they wanted to mess up the Ravens and the Bengals because they knew they had quarterbacks coming both years to pay their team to mess up their salary cap.
And then
But
look
you
at
know
what it. But
They
then,
won for one.
and then now, and where is Houston now? At the bottom of the pile.
But you
And
know
they'll
what?
be
Houston,
drafting, and
it won't
they'll
be
be
that
drafting
long.
a quarterback too. They'll be drafting a quarterback too.
They're going to be drafting the quarterback again. 4 years,
April.
4 years,
Yeah.
5 years after making the move to get Deshaun Watson. They're back in the quarterback
Hey.
carousel.
Hey, let's talk about a team. If they had a quarterback right now, and I hate to admit this crap, if they had a quarterback, they would be my dark horse to go to the Super Bowl. That is the Washington Redskins or Commanders. If they had a quarterback right now, they would be a threat to beat any team in the NFC right now. And I hate to say that because I can't stand them.
Well, Tony, you're 100% correct. What was on display on Sunday night? Giants, Giants Commanders on Sunday night. I'm going to be honest with you. Taylor Heineke, if they had a competent, I'll say this: if they had a competent quarterback, either Taylor Heineke doesn't take the field, or after that first fumble that caused the touchdown, for Kayvon Thibodeau and the Giants, putting them in the lead. By the way, in the lead for good. I would have yanked them.
They robbed the Skins.
No, well, listen,
They did.
they were robbed by the officials, but
They
there were
robbed
enough mistakes
Jesse.
made. There were enough mistakes made by
They
that
played-
team. For example,
played not-
hold
they
on.
played not
Let's
to
go
win.
down the list. Let's go down the list. Fumbled on the 2-yard line. That was a scoop and score. That's a 7-point swing. The Redskins score a touchdown. They finally get the touchdown, and instead of going for one, they decide to go for two to make it a 3-point game, a 1-score game. They not only do they get the snap off, they get called for a pick play. They move them back the yardage, and then the Redskins miss the 1-pointer from 43 yards. That's an 8-point swing. Then coming down the other end, they fumble in the third quarter, inside the 5-yard line.
It was
Okay,
fourth quarter then
it was
too.
the fourth quarter, inside the 5-yard line. Guys, that is a 14 or 15-point swing in a game that you lost by 8 points.
Hold on. Now y'all know I'm not a NFC guy, and y'all know I'm not a Commanders guy. But the refs have to call the game according to what they see. I watched Terry McCord check with the refs not once but twice, and the refs nodded yes, you're okay. And then as soon as the ball was snapped, he threw the flag. You gotta make
Go on
that call. They scored on that play.
Go to Facebook and go to my page.
It'd be different if he didn't check with him. He checked with him not once but twice. I understand you left points on the field, but refs they gotta look. When you're a team like the Washington Commanders, that you're borderline, you could be good, borderline, you could be bad. You can't have the refs and the other team going against you. Then the last play of the game, the guy was draped on him. As you see all the memes, the guy was draped on him. You got to call games, and it seems like the teams that are it's like the teams that are slightly better. Stop it, Tony. Stop. The teams that are slightly better, I just need the referees to call the games accordingly. They're paid. And I talked to Tony early on today. I said these referees should be at fault, just like these NFL players. When an NFL player makes something about the refs and say something about the refs, they get fined, right? So these referees, when they want to be a star of the game, then they need to be up here on Tuesday morning when they make bad calls, being reprimanded on ESPN, just like the NFL players.
Devin, I need your thoughts on this. Did the Washington Commanders shoot themselves in the foot, or was this something you picked?
I was there. I was there live. I was working, and I told everybody that game was not lost at the end. They lost that game by trying not to lose the game. They played not to lose. They came out. I don't know how offensive line coach, you don't take advantage of Kayvon Thibodeau just running upfield every play. I don't know how you allow him to do it. If he wants to do that, you got to throw it right where he came from or run right where he came from.
He run it right inside of him. Absolutely.
You got to
turn him out.
I'm trying to figure out, first play of the game, he blew it up. Third play of the game, he blew it up. Then he gets the strip sack, and I'm like, are you going to block this guy at some point? I mean, if you can't block him, how are you going to block Bosa, Garrett?
You're not.
3 weeks. How are you going to block those guys? And that's the problem I have. And at the end of the day, their offense played not to lose. They did not play to win. They played. They figured the Giants couldn't score, but you gave them a free 7. You gave them 7. So now you're really up against it because they're not built to score, but you gave them 7. And then I didn't understand where the linebackers were when the Giants were doing the double team ram blocks. You have to feel.
I wasn't even thinking about it.
You have to fill those holes when those two big tackles get tied up in there. They're double teaming Payne and Allen. They're not going to let them feast this time. They're going to make sure they don't have a big day. So Saquon Barkley's not getting touched. It was very good coaching on Daboll's part. Yeah.
Devin, I like the coaching and the scheming by the Giants offensive staff. In particular, you go back to that. I was talking to Tony and you mentioned it. You go back to that old school high school lamb block. All right, and you spring an ailing Saquon Barkley, who was a little nipped up. He's a little nipped up. He's not 100%, but they were able to go into the middle of that, Washington defensive front and find some yards in them.
He had 3 straight runs of 15 yards.
They got Jamin Davis playing the mic. Deb told me Jamin Davis isn't no mic.
He's not a mic. No. He's an outside guys. He is an outside linebacker, a cover linebacker.
He didn't know he was supposed to shoot the hole. He was supposed to stand there. By the time he decided, Barkley's 10 yards in the secondary.
And by the way, the Giants didn't disguise it.
It's so bad.
But Devin, the Giants didn't disguise it.
It was straight coming at you. But it's just they're terrible. They're terrible.
Hey, so you say that, but right now, as we are on this show, the biggest upset this year, the Skins already beat the Eagles. The Skins going to go in there and beat the 49ers. And they ain't letting no Purdy beat them. They going to go in there and dominate that game. San Francisco ain't that good. You don't keep giving San Francisco credit.
Tony, that Washington offensive line is going to have trouble all day against that DeMeco Ryans defense. They're going to come after. They're going to come after Heineke. They're going to come after Heineke in a way that he ain't ready. You see what I'm saying? That he has not seen.
I'm going to say it right here on this show. Troy Polamalu's little brother, Hufanga, is going to have a pick six against Taylor Heineke. He's going to throw one out there, and 29 going to jump that thing and take it to the house because that's what Heineke does. He gives you 2 chances a week. You got to take advantage of him.
Yep.
Defense get 2 chances a week against him. He's terrible. God, he's bad. He's so bad.
Jody.
The 49er defense. The 49er defense got at least 6 Pro Bowlers on it. There's no way that Washington gonna beat them. They got 6 Pro Bowlers on that defense.
That
Maybe
defense
7.
hasn't given. That defense
So
hasn't
all you
given
guys
up.
right now got y'all picked San Francisco.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Dave, Cole,
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
I'm
Hey,
picking
dog.
San Francisco by at least 14 points. That's how
At
I
least.
know they're gonna kick
might
out
be
I
close
am
to
defense.
that.
telling you. Wait, hey, excuse me, guys. What's the line on the San Francisco Washington game? 7.5 is the line. So Vegas think that it's only a 4-point game because you get 3 points for being at home.
Vegas
Right.
Vegas
crazy.
think it's only a 4-point game.
That number is going to move. The Dallas number, by the way, the Dallas Philly number is moved. It moved to as much as 6. Started out at 1.5. It started at 1.5.
Because they know Philly can't beat Dallas when Dak is there.
The 49ers got the best linebacking core in football right now. And they probably got the best front 7 for sure.
No
Okay,
question.
so the 49ers, listen, dog. 49ers got all that stuff, but the 49ers ain't desperate. That Washington team is desperate. Right now, they're going to be desperate. And I'm telling you right now, the top 2 receivers, y'all just named all them. If Washington were to go with Dotson and McLaurin, those guys can actually play. They're probably the best 1-2 in the NFC East right now.
Tony, the Niners are desperate. They can still be the 2 seed and not have to travel at all to the NFC Championship.
Right. Which they
So
would.
they have a little
Which they would.
desperation because they can still catch Minnesota. They're only 1 game behind them.
They can catch
They
it.
ain't go. Listen, dog. Minnesota's done because Minnesota's going to have to see Detroit or Washington.
They're
so
done.
Minnesota going to be done in the playoffs.
They
Yeah,
done.
Wow.
Why they
Excuse me.
done?
When you go up 33-0, you get down 33-0 to the sorry ass Colts.
Something's wrong, guys.
Hold on,
Something's
wait,
wrong.
hold on, wait, stop. Didn't the Cowboys struggle against the Colts too for a minute, and then they end up blowing them out?
We beat them 54 to
Right, but it was a close game into the 3rd quarter.
And we scored 33 points in 1 quarter.
No, it was a
I don't
close
think
game in the
that.
4th
Listen.
quarter. It was 21-19 in the 4th quarter.
Exactly.
Dallas-
And
what
I don't
was the
think
final
Dallas.
score?
Listen.
The final score was 55. We put a 50. We put a double nickel up
I
on
think-
them
Okay,
dudes.
just like they were down 33-0, they had basically what 39 to 30, 39-3 in the second half. It was 39-3. So what's the difference?
Sorry.
Mm.
They ain't won but 1 game since your boy took over. When your boy was on the TD report, they called him and he went to go coach. And they got only 1 game since then.
Jeff,
I ain't talking about
Jeff
that.
Saturday.
I'm talking about Minnesota. You trying to say Minnesota's done? Come on, man. Minnesota had a bad
Minnesota's
game
sorry.
against Dallas. He had a bad game against Philly.
Minnesota's
man.
sorry.
Did they have?
They
Hold
had
on,
a bad
Jody.
game against the Lions.
Jody,
I'm
did
talking
they
about
have a
horrible
bad
game.
game? Jody, did they have a bad game against the Redskins? They barely beat Washington.
They
They
really
shouldn't
did.
have
Hey,
beat Washington. They cheated.
We're talking about NFL teams. These are NFL teams, guys. Y'all act like it's easy. Ain't no
It's
win
not
in
easy.
the NFL easy.
I would say this.
Oh, no,
We
you
use
didn't say that last week. You didn't say that last week when Dallas barely beat Houston. Oh, y'all
I didn't
struggled
say
against
that.
them.
I
And then
never
they
said
took-
that.
So who they put in the overtime this week? Everybody's favorite to go to the Super Bowl.
No, I never.
Kansas City was in
Listen.
overtime with them.
I never said anything about any win in the NFL is a tough win. I don't care who you playing. It's guys on those teams that make money. And when
I
you got
understand.
guys on them teams that make money, they're going to play hard. The Houston Texans, they're not as bad. They play hard for Lovie Smith. They just don't have the talent.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point.
Yeah, man, they do
Listen,
play hard. They play hard every
They
week.
said
play
that the
hard
front
every week.
seven, Houston's front seven, they said is one of the worst front sevens ever assembled.
Right.
Terrible.
You got
Terrible.
He said, what in the
I had to stop for a minute because you were so serious when you said it too.
No, they're terrible.
one of the
Hey,
worst.
dude, listen.
Man,
Washington went down there and they carved their ass up like a Christmas goose. They busted that ass. It was terrible.
If you look at Houston's roster, Derek Stingley is out for the year. They got
Yep.
Davis Mills at quarterback.
If I had
rookie
the bet, I would
Pearson.
bet money line. I would
Pearson's
take
out
the
for the
Packers,
year.
'cause
They don't play
the
Cooks. They
Rams
got their
ain't
best
nobody.
receiver is Nico Collins. That's their best receiver.
Who?
Come on, man. Nico Collins is a number 4 on a lot of teams in the NFL.
Nico
well, I'ma ask
Collins
these guys.
Nico Collins is a taxi squad player. Okay, he's not an NFL starter. He's just
Hey
not.
guys, if y'all had to gamble tonight, which we don't do on this show, who would y'all take tonight? In Green Bay, it's about 20 degrees. It's the Rams playing the Packers.
I'm taking
And-
the Packers. The Rams ain't winning that game. It's too cold. Too cold.
We got-
So you would take the Rams? I mean Packers. Who would you take, Jody?
Hey, you act like I got to pick between chitlins and sauerkraut. I ain't picking neither one of them.
Who would you take if your life depended on what game? Who would you take to win the game?
I mean, you got to go with Aaron Rodgers. If my life depends
Jay,
on
who
it.
would you take?
I'll go with the Tundra boys. Give me Green Bay.
Hey man, they said all three of them picked Green Bay.
What's the
Baker
line on it,
Mayfield.
Tony? Tony, what's the line on it
the
there?
game? What's the line? What's the line? 7.5, which means 10.
That's a lot of points. But late season, you know what? Late season game. Okay, I can take that. Hey
I
guys,
can't believe I got to pick that game.
I've got to jump.
That's not
I
fair.
got to
gotta
jump
pick that
off.
game.
Yeah, I've got to jump off. Okay.
I do too. I got to roll, fellas.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, Deb, real quick. Folks,
Last
what
one,
you
yeah.
saw was on that World Cup. We got to give props to Messi for the World Cup for finally getting it. But the best player in the world is, what's his name, Deb? Say his name?
Kylian Mbappe.
Kylian Mbappe.
Mbappe. He's
incredible.
probably the best athlete in the world right now, playing
Uh,
for France.
Honestly,
So,
if you're the United States, find you a guy with that Kobe Bryant mentality and bring him up in the sport of soccer. Make him be about 5'9" to maybe 6'1", not too thick, but strong in the legs, and you might have something like that. Top end speed, skill on the ball. You can't push him off the ball. And if you blink on an offside, if you blink on a defense, and they
He's
can get the
gone.
ball through, you're in trouble.
Hey,
real
before we
quick.
go, guys, we want to make sure we let the fans know we're going to be coming to you at the beginning of the year with something new. Okay? So we'll get you. We're going to be coming with something new. The TD report. We got all the guys here. Hey, and by the way, everybody hates this team right here because they going to the Super Bowl.
Hey,
No,
They
they're
gonna
not.
beat
night.
No,
All
they're
these
not.
dudes right here hate us. They going
Tony
to the Super
Kennedy-
Bowl, baby.
Tony Kennedy's opinions are not those of the
Super
TD
Bowl.
report. Those
Yes,
are
they
his
are.
opinions and his opinions alone.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Because
Devin.
Wednesday is National Signing Day for college football, so if we're doing something,
Yeah,
gotta do something
Wednesday.
Thursday.
Yeah, we're
Gotta
going to
talk
talk
about
about
that
it
because
Thursday.
that's and you had
All right, guys.
the big flip today was Michigan quarterback. The quarterback from Michigan flipped from Oregon to UCLA, Dante Moore, the number 1 ranked quarterback. He's going to play for Chip Kelly.
Let's
Yep.
roll on that on Thursday, Deb.
We need to get that up because that's
Hey,
big.
Let's stick around
hey,
for Eric
y'all go
McClellan.
ahead. Hey, let's
Hey,
Eric,
Eric.
I got to go, fellas. I got to
I'm
go.
sticking
All right, too,
around.
fella.
I'm staying.
I got some stuff I got to take care of. All right,
Eric, talk
later,
to
folks.
us, man, about the World Cup.
Thanks,
baby.
Devin.
Talk to us.
Hey, Eric, how you doing, E?
How y'all doing? I'm good. I'm talking about
Doing great.
chitlins
Hey,
and sauce.
listen, Eric McClellan, former Virginia Tech All-American, here to talk with us today about World Cup soccer. We really appreciate your expertise, and we appreciated you coming on show last week and had a great time with you. Listen, for a soccer aficionado like yourself, watching that final must have been like a kid in a candy store, or Christmas come early. What did you think?
Man, Christmas, right? I mean, you talk about Christmas, a special time of year. I mean, that was unbelievable. I mean, that's probably the greatest game I've watched since '86 when Maradona won that World Cup. Yeah, it was
The hand of God?
yeah, it was. I mean, talk about excitement and just watching the game and the tactics and the mentality of the players and what Argentina was playing for. I picked France, and I just Maradona. I mean, they were playing for something different. They were playing for him. And the way that coaching staff, how they came out and just kind of punched France in the mouth. It was high pressure. They isolated the weakest back of France had. Di Maria hadn't played in a couple of games, and he was a 23-year-old out there just making moves and just it was unstoppable. But then it was great to see, France, how they came back and made some adjustments. And it was a gutsy move to take Giroud out of that game. The highest scorer in the national team this past year, take him out of games early. If that backfired, then he's probably catching a lot of slack. But it got him in position, and it was great to put Mbappe in a position where he was not being doubled and triple teamed on the outside. It was easy to defend him there. And put him in the middle, it changed his game.
Eric, I think when I posed a question to you last week about what is the United States missing, and your answer was they're missing that Mbappe type guy, that Messi type guy, that finisher. Now those two guys are all-time greats. Okay, yeah. They're all-time greats. Not every nation is going to have that type of guy. But what you were basically telling us was the United States doesn't have that. They don't have that type of player. What would it take to get that type of player and develop it? Because from what I'm understanding, that player might be in our lower ranks of national teams, maybe a younger guy moving his way up that we haven't seen on the national team yet. Is that player here in the United States? Yeah,
I mean, I think we're getting there. If you said, hey, do we have a player like John Hart's, 40 years ago? No. Do we have a player like Claudio? No. And each time we're getting closer and closer. So, you're starting to get more goal scorers. And that's what it comes down to, goal scorers and not just people that can shoot. At the end of that game, right, so second overtime, France should have won the game.
They had it. I thought so.
The last 20 seconds, the kids, and that comes down to a score. If that's Mbappe, if that's Messi, that's in the back of the net. And
okay,
he's a shooter. He just got there. He's in position. He just shot the ball. The first thing that came out of my mouth was, why didn't he just dink the ball over top of the goalkeeper? Because the goalkeeper is out of position.
Chip it. Yeah. Just chip it. Yeah.
Chip it over him and he's in. He tried to smash it. It's like, well, that's the difference, between that player, he's him, right? That's Mbappe, that's Messi, that's Ronaldo. Those guys will put that ball in the back of the net.
I really enjoyed the pageantry, obviously, of the World Cup. The only thing in the United States that we can really attribute to that or kind of equate to that would be something like a Super Bowl or a Michigan-Ohio State football game, maybe an Army-Navy possibly, in terms of the pageantry and the tradition. But, one of the young ladies that I'm seeing is Colombian gal, right? And her thing is less about the South American style of soccer. Things that she talks about is the passion that each nation has for their national team. We don't necessarily have that in the United States, not year in, year out. We usually are kind of, how can I say it, episodic. When we have a good team and it's kind of working up, we develop it. And even if we can get an Olympic year in there, when it was an Olympic sport, we would get up for that. But in terms of the week-to-week, year-to-year type of feeling, we don't really have that in the United States for our men's national team. We have it for our women's national team, but I think that's because the women's national team wins more. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think when you think about soccer is the world's game. We're very, I love football, and we're very, national football is our sport. But I mean, you look at how many eyes are on the Super Bowl?
Millions.
Billions for the World Cup. That World Cup had billions. Right. So, it's a great millions, but you're talking about billions. So, and then, you look at college football, there's affinity, right? We went to Tech, Maryland, whatever. That's your community, right? You're always going, ride or die hard for them. So that's where you're going to have that passion. So that's the same thing over in the world, right? Liverpool and Manchester, Chelsea, those are the city's team, so they come from these, Portsmouth or, Napoli, like those people grew up, they were born in fans, and that's like family to them. And that's like the whole town. You always going to, so that's where that passion comes from. It's born in them. Whereas, I'm a Cowboys fan just like Tony, but we didn't grow up, the Commanders fans, but it's just something ingrained. So that passion, it's just a different level. You saw people crying in the stands. I mean,
that's a great point. That's a great point, E. I think we can maybe equate it, to that NFC East rivalry that we tend to have, where I grew up here in the DC area. Tony grew up here. You're either a Dallas fan, a New York fan. There's a few Eagles fans here, but there's a lot of Cowboys fans here. So being here in the DC area gives you a little bit of that, where you're going to have a Giants team come to town, and it's like, oh man, Giants in town. Let's watch this game. Even though I had no skin in the game in terms of that game, I had to watch it because I just like seeing those teams beat the crap out of each other. Whereas when you're talking about, Premier League, Bundesliga, La Liga, those are those local, not necessarily local, but more regional teams with their own regional fans, local fans. And then on top of that, they're going to have an academy that feeds young talent in through those kind of a minor leagues, as it were, like we might see in baseball. So, when you have kids that go into those academies, they go up through the system, then they get to the point where they're professional and then look at maybe a multi-million-dollar transfer, over to one of the bigger leagues. That impacts their Q rating, their visibility on that national soccer stage, international. It's a whole different ballgame once you get up there. This isn't national, it's international. It's national news in their country, but it's also going to be across our little ticker when someone gets that transfer. I got a little bit of a taste of it. You alluded to John Harkes. I got a little taste of it when he left UVA to go pro when he graduated. And we would hear stories coming back about the lifestyle he was leading. It's incredible. He was living in a castle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
a
team perk.
It's different. I mean, a lot of those guys come over to the States to vacation because they're not known as like just face to face.
They can move. They can move around. They can go to the grocery store. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's two stories there. So Wayne Rooney, we have a Irish pub called Kells here. It's real well known for their St. Patrick's Day parties. And one of my buddies, I was playing men's league, said he got a call from the owner and said, hey, you need to come down here. Somebody wants you to meet, right? And so he's like, I'll just come down there and have a pint, whatever. Back in the corner is Wayne Rooney, just sitting there. No one's bothering him, and he just walks in and they just sit down and have a conversation. Manchester United came over to Nike and did their preseason here probably about 10, 12 years ago. And they can walk around. They can walk around, Beaverton, Oregon. No one, unless you're a soccer, aficionado at that time, they didn't know, so they didn't know who, these guys are. But, Michael Jordan, right? He goes, he's somebody, everybody knows him. So that's kind of like Messi.
Worldwide. Yeah.
Messi can come over here. People gonna know, they're going to know him. They're going to know Mbappe. But Ronaldo, he's got the face. And David Beckham, those are some guys that are just transcend, not the field, but off the field as well. And that's where that's just something different.
The soccer guys, the internationally known, very well paid, those guys are rock stars, and even their wives are celebrities. Obviously, David Beckham's married to a Spice Girl.
Right,
and, that synergy between sports and entertainment, similar to what we see sometimes with, basketball here in the United States. These NBA guys will, date a Kardashian or something like that. And then they're on reality shows and they're on the show, they're on their sport. And then their girlfriend / wife has her own show and they pull all of that together. Over in Britain, they have that whole show. What is it? Wives and Girlfriends. Right. It's basically a Real Housewives of European soccer stars.
Yeah.
They don't like each other. The ladies don't like each other and they have their little thing. It's like a soap opera inside of a sports drama. It's really amazing to me how that works. And as a guy that watches, I've watched WAGs. Tony, you need to watch this show. It's like Real Housewives of Atlanta, except these are the girlfriends of the best soccer players in the world. And they're all thrown together. So they got one, they have a British show, right? They got one for Britain. Yeah. It's pretty interesting. Have you ever watched?
I try not to watch that. My wife's into all that, the housewives. I'm just like, I can't. It's too much. I have too much stress in my life. I don't need that.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. If your wife is watching, you're watching. She gonna make you watch.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah, it is too. I try to go to sleep and say she keeps it on, but I'm tired of Kardashians, so that's one thing I can't stand. I walk out the room for that one.
Hey, Eric, would you like it if I could get Nate Friends on the show and we could, do a little UVA Virginia Tech back and forth? We can, talk a little mess. You know what I'm saying? What do you think?
No, we get them. I used to hang out with Brad a little bit, Brad and Goose a little bit, and Clint Pierre pretty well. So yeah,
I might have to go look up.
Writing something for us a little bit?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to. I'll try to get AJ Wood on the show.
AJ, Georgetown Prep, right? Yeah,
Georgetown Prep.
Write some pieces for us, please.
Was that Tony?
We need you to write some stuff for us.
Yeah, we'd really appreciate it if you could.
You can be our little soccer insider. We're gonna be looking for a soccer insider. We're gonna get to a website and start writing some pieces for people.
Yeah, and Eric also, and I hate to talk business while we're on the line, but let's talk about it. What we like to do is also talk about how how you link into youth soccer and help some of our listeners and our watchers know, hey, I've got a 7-year-old kid that really enjoys the sport. How do I bring him or her up through the sport? And just some avenues and some methods and things like that. I think that would be pretty cool. I think it would be useful, for people. And we always want to help out everybody. And by the way, we give away free game on the show. If you have anything that you want to push or talk about, we're more than happy to put it on here. We ain't stingy. We give away games here every day.
Yeah, no, it's funny because y'all, we just got my club team, that youth club team that I coach with right now. We just got a USL franchise team for the men's tonight and a women's WSL team. So that's going to be rolling out this summer. So a lot of positive things here in Portland.
Wait a minute. All this time they haven't had a WSL team out there? I didn't know that.
So they have the Portland Thorns, which is the the women's the pro league, and they're like the top. So we're having kind of like it's called a WSL. It's almost like a minor league, but it's right now amateur. So college players can come back during the summer and play. And USL is the men's side, and it's like just again minor league. And our plan is to go USL Pro, which is almost like the second, like AAA to MLS. Okay, and that's where we're trying to get to a point where we can start. The goal is go pro, pay players, transfer players and get paid, and sell players and all that. So that's the model the strategy down the line.
I like that idea. I think that'll be great for you to get on here and talk about it or write for us either way. But definitely, Tony, we're almost at the hour. So I want to make sure we give Eric his time. We really appreciate you jumping in at the last minute because we were about to sign off. I was like, damn, we didn't get our expert on, but this is cool. This is perfect. So take us out of the World Cup and move us to back for the United States because it's all about the United States on this show. Where do we go? Where do we go from here as we incorporate some of our younger guys? We move up, say, a guy like a Gio Reyna as he matures and develops into a more reliable, force where we can count on him. You see what I'm saying? And these younger guys are going to have to step up in this next cycle, or else we're not going anywhere.
Yeah. No, I think the main thing is first you figure out what you're going to do with Berhalter. Is he coming back?
Coach.
Is he getting another 4-year cycle? That's first and foremost, because if he is, then you know which system you're going to have. You know what type of players you're going to bring in. If it's not, bring that person in immediately, whoever that may be. So then you can start bringing, because 4 years goes by just like that. And you have to get players in that, he or she, whoever the coach is, wants to mold and put their vision out there. And then you got to develop depth. I mean, you have to bring in players that you feel have the opportunity to see them in 2026.
Okay.
And that's got to be, you don't have to probably do that in a year, 4 minus, 4 years, minus, whatever. But you have to do that in year 3. You have to get players and hey, they're going to be seriously considered for that team in 2026 next year in the US.
Hey, can we make Mbappe a citizen? Can we make Mbappe a citizen?
You're gonna have to talk. You're gonna have to talk to Senegal first. I think they're first in line.
Yeah. No. I think we have everything we need here as far as the money, the infrastructure. We have the raw talent. Now you have to develop it And we've big strides. MLS for all the strides MLS gets, they're making strides. They're getting better and better. But go overseas and get coached up and learn the game. Sick and Reyna, Adams and all those guys. That's where we bring that back. Then you just need someone to put in the right, the puzzle, to put the people together and make it happen. We're not far. I mean, we got to the second, got out of group stage. Could have been number one. We could have beaten England. Obviously,
should have been. Yeah, we should have. I mean, I like our young core. I like about 4 or 5 of the younger guys. Tyler Adams is like what? He's like 24.
Yeah, 23, 24, yeah.
And he's the captain. He's going to be here for a few more cycles, which is what you want. You want a guy out there that really understands what's going on the field and has that international experience, has a few caps under his belt, literally and figuratively. That's going to help us. And there are going to be some tough matches. We're going to get some tough matches. So, if we go up through the CONCACAF cycle, we go through our friendlies and so on and so forth when they reassemble, we'll start to see kind of what we have on the roster start coming out for tryouts. So that's what I'm taking you back here. What do you think? Is that cool?
Yeah. No, yes, for sure. But the last thing I would say, again, I think the main thing is depth. I mean, you look at our bench. What he couldn't look to his bench like, yeah, that's going to be an upgrade of what I got on the field. Where you look at how the French, they were able to bring people off the bench and back to the game. They were better than the French. And that we don't have that. So we get to that.
Okay.
And we're cooking with gas, as they say, right? We're good.
I can dig it.
All right,
Everybody,
fellas.
Eric McClellan here, Virginia Tech All-American, our soccer expert here on the TV Report. I'm going to sign us off. Eric, thank you for joining us, my brother. That was excellent. Appreciate you.
All right, thank y'all.
See you, my brother.
That's the best 5 minutes on soccer we've had, baby. We love it. Thank you. I can't do it all by myself.
See you, man.
Tony, thanks for bringing E on the show. Let's get him in on some production, and let's just chat with him and see what we can work out, okay? Thanks, Eric.
All right.
See y'all.
Game. Hey, congratulations to the Argentinians. And by the way, if you're an Argentinian school kid, you have tomorrow off. You off.
Yeah,
You off school, buddy.
Congratulations, Messi.
Holiday.
Congratulations.
Thanks a lot,
First
Tony.
World Cup.
Great show, buddy. Thanks.
Right.